What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Whodey Nation podcast. As always, I have Blake with me. Today's episode, we're going to be doing position grades for the offensive line and defensive line. But before we talk about that, there's some recent camp news to talk about. Cornerback Trey Waynes has recently had pectoral surgery, and he will miss most of the season and possibly the whole season. We recently signed Waynes in free agency to a 3-year deal, and it's really unfortunate to us because he was a replacement for Kirkpatrick. And I was thinking today, Blake, what are your thoughts on the Bengals signing Kirkpatrick to a 1-year deal?
I would be just in more terms of that. I really think they should give Darius Phillips a shot. Judging by how he played last year, he showed that he has potential. And Baker Patrick would just kind of take the pressure off Darius Phillips, I guess, and just kind of make it easier to transition there because next year Wayne will be back. So maybe a 1-year deal for Patrick wouldn't be a terrible idea. I can see it happening to see if Patrick gets on board, but as of right now, I'm all in on Darius Phillips starting this season in the QB2 spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind us signing Kirkpatrick to a 1-year deal for a couple of million. I like Phillips. I think he's going to be really good, but I think signing Kirkpatrick to a 1-year deal would be kind of smart. Obviously, he's been with us his whole NFL career, but Phillips is good, but he doesn't have, he's not played a whole lot of games. And you look at our secondary, it's not super experienced. I think Kirkpatrick, obviously, he's been with us, but he would be like the veteran presence in the secondary. And Renell Wren, defensive tackle, has a significant quad injury. He's seeking a second opinion, and if he requires surgery, he'll be out the whole year. It's a blow to the defensive tackle position because we recently released Glasgow. Josh Tupou is opting out of the season due to the coronavirus. And Wren, if he don't play, that'll hurt us. And, Wren was injured some last year, too. But, he showed some promise, and lots of Bengal fans were really hoping to see him some this year.
Yeah, I think the biggest blow to the Bengals with Wren being out is just we don't get to see if he could improve this year. We're just gonna miss out on seeing what he could have done. But I think he's replaceable for the time being. I think they can get somebody in there like Mike Daniels who will fill that role, and then I think they also need to sign another one. Probably, I think at this point, it's just sign a younger guy. You tackle not another veteran because with Wren being out, Glasgow gone, and Bo being gone, there's 3 guys that were younger and just haven't really shown what they can do. So you're losing out on 3 chances to have a breakout player. So I think maybe signing another young defensive tackle would be a good move. And then, so I think as the team goes for this year, I don't think Wren being out really affects it too much. I think we just miss out on seeing what he could have done.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind us signing a younger guy because we recently signed Mike Daniels. Lots of Bengal fans want Petco, but I would rather have a younger guy than Petco. Petco, he's not nearly as good as people make him out to be. I would be more comfortable having Wren than Petco. And then the last camp news is that Sean Williams was carted off the field the other day in practice due to a calf injury. He's seeking a second opinion, and it's hopeful that he could be back for week 1. Williams is one of my favorite Bengals. He's probably my favorite Bengal on defense. And when I saw he got carted off the field, I was thinking, because I saw that Wren could have possibly been out the year, I was automatically thinking worst case scenario, Williams could be out for the year. But since it's hopeful he could be back for week 1, that's pretty good. But since we have Bates and Bell at safety and also Brandon Wilson, if Williams doesn't come back till week 2, week 3, 4, whatever, I would much rather have them wait until he's 100% fully healthy and then rush him back just a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think LeVon Bell signing just really makes the situation easier for the Bengals because he's not going to miss a large amount of time for Von Bell to kind of step in, but I think they prefer to have safeties of Bates, Williams, and Bell kind of playing all at the same time, or at least rotating. So we won't get to see the idea of that right away, but I think they won't be in terrible shape with Von Bell. Just them two. Maybe we'll get to see like Brandon Wilson or Trayvon Henderson get some snaps. So it's unfortunate that he went down, but I don't think it's going to affect the season too much. I think he'll be back, and even if he misses a week or two, I think they'll be okay at the safety position. I don't think it's like a massive blow that he can miss a week or two. So I think they could really kind of take their time with this as long as he doesn't miss a ridiculous amount of time. They can take their time and kind of make sure he's healthy before they send him back out.
Yeah, Trayvon Henderson. I mean, he really stood out in preseason last year. If I'm really interested to see preseason like a year or so ago, I'm really interested to see what he can do if he would end up making a team because he was one of my favorite players throughout the preseason. So now we're going to be talking position grades for the offensive line. So we're going to go ahead and recent draft selection. What's your grade for Hakeem Adeniji?
I'll give him probably C minus. You know, he's a later round pick, and he's versatile, so that's good. But I think I like the pick, and we'll just kind of see where it leads to. I think he's good depth for now, and just try to get him adjusted to the NFL as best they can. I don't think he's gonna get a whole lot of playing time unless they have injuries. So I mean, he's a decent guy to have on your offensive line, a younger guy. Uh, I think he's just gonna have to find a way to belong on the Bengals offensive line and uh, keep working hard and kind of learning the system and seeing where they go from there.
Yeah, I also have a C minus for him. In college at Kansas, he played left tackle and right tackle, so he's flexible, can play multiple positions. I agree what you said. He's not going to play much unless somebody goes down, and even if somebody goes down, I'm not totally for sure that he would play much at all this season. I think he's more somebody who they drafted him knowing he's not going to play much this year, but maybe in a year or so he'll play a decent amount. He'll have some meaningful snaps. So yeah, I would give him a C minus as well. Next up, Billy Price. I have a C minus for Price. Um, he's I don't know. I guess you'd call him a bust so far. I don't get really how you can't call him a bust. I mean, I know he's been injured at times, but I mean, we drafted him in the first round when Lamar Jackson was there, and lots of Bengal fans were upset about that. And just Price has not done anything at all. He's not what Bengal fans expected to be at all. I mean, after like a season, he lost his starting position at center to Trey Hopkins. I would give a Billy Price a C minus. What would you give Price?
I think I'm gonna go with the D plus because he hasn't shown us anything. Definitely, definitely been a bust so far. But he's still younger. He can maybe give. Yeah, I don't think even if he does get better, I don't think he'll ever live up to that first round potential. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna kind of pan out how they wanted. He can play for now. I think if he does get better, he can be a decent kind of fill in until they kind of figure out the offensive line. But as of right now, I don't think he's really gonna. I don't. I don't really like him as a starter, which is kind of kind of bad for how bad this offensive line is. If Billy Price can't find a starting spot, so maybe just kind of plug him in every once in a while, see what he can do, see if he improves. But this Bengals offensive line as a whole is pretty concerning. So I think maybe give him a couple chances and see if he does any better. But as of right now, don't really have much hope for him. Maybe see if he can, just get a little better since he is younger.
So what do you have on Fred Johnson?
I'll actually give him a C minus. He has a little bit of potential. He just hasn't been. He got cut from the Steelers, so it's like, you're people kind of overrate him just a little bit, like Bengals fans. I think he can definitely be good depth if they ever figure out the offensive line. But I just don't really think the guy that got cut from the Steelers is gonna really help us a whole lot. Um, I like him. I think he has a little bit of potential, and I'd like to see him play over Bobby Hart, honestly, the right tackle position. But we'll kind of see where they go with Fred Johnson. If he has a good year, that grade can probably shoot up next year.
I actually have a C plus on Johnson. Johnson didn't play a whole lot, but when he played, he was really good. And if he would have played more in the season, his grade, in my opinion, would have went up more. But just because he had a small sample size, I'm just having that C plus. Yeah, lots of people want Johnson to start over Bobby Hart. I mean, at a money standpoint, that would make sense a lot because Fred Johnson, he's not getting paid hardly at all. We signed Hart not too long ago for a couple of years, and Johnson's pretty good, I think, but like I said, he's just not had a ton of experience yet. If he can have a decent, more than just a small sample size and play good, I wouldn't mind uh, having him start over Hart. So Johnson, I have a C plus, and Bobby Hart, I have a C, which some listeners probably think that's a little too high for him. I'm not a fan of him. I know probably 95%, at least 95%, it seems like Bengal fans are not a fan of Hart, but he's not good. It's understandable why people don't like him. I mean, his penalties, the stuff he's posted on like social media and stuff like that. But at a football standpoint, I don't think he's as bad as what people make him out to be. Like, if his contract was reduced to like half of what he was getting like per season, I would be fine with that. He had a better year than people give him credit for. Just people continue to hate on him because I mean, people don't like him. They're going to find a way to complain about him any way they can. But I think he had a better season than people give him credit for. He's better than people give him credit for as well. So I would give Hart a C.
I think in terms of Bobby Hart, I'm gonna give him an F, and that's just because the stuff he's posted, the homophobic posts, the stuff about the virus, all that stuff, and then he's got an ugly contract. It's just I don't really think that's some guy that the Bengals should have on their roster. And the plays also, he did show he played a little better last year, but in terms of just the way he's been kind of acting on social media this offseason, some of the things he said, I'm not too big of a fan of him being on the roster anymore. I just you want a good locker room. He could be a good locker room guy, but he's kind of just showing his true colors off the field. Maybe if you take away those posts, you take away his ugly contract, his grade would be a lot higher for me. But it's just I think it could be time to move on from him. I think it should be time to move on from him, and hopefully in the off season they can find a replacement. But in terms of play, I think he is getting better, or at least he showed he was a little bit better last year. And hopefully for the time being, if they decide to keep him on, which it seems like they're going to, he can kind of just step up and protect Burrow for the time being while he's here. But I think eventually, in the next probably 2 years, they will move on from Bobby Hart. They're going to find a replacement. But right now, his job is to protect Joe Burrow, and I hope he steps up and he plays.
Yeah, I mean, Bengal fans don't like him in the first place, and then you post like just stupid crap on social media that I mean, why even post it? Fans already hate you, and you're going to get people mad at you even more. So, yeah, with the social media thing, that's just I don't disagree. And at that standpoint, like you said, you want a good locker room, and with the stuff he's posted on like Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that, it's not showing. I mean, I know it's social media, but it doesn't seem like he would be like a good locker room guy. and Taylor wants just like a good locker room and stuff. He's proven in the off season he wants like good people on the field and good people off the field. But if we were to release Hart, I wouldn't really be upset because I think Johnson would we would do just as good as Hart, possibly even better. So a recently signed free agent the Bengals signed throughout the off season is Xavier Su'a-Filo. What would you grade him?
For him, I'll go with D plus. I just when that move was announced initially, I thought it was just a depth move, and then kind of seeing how the offensive line's performing, it sounds like he probably start. I just don't think I don't think he would be a very good starter. I think he would be good depth. So if he was, signed to be a backup, his grade would be higher for me. But it's this offensive line's not very good, and they're going to have to find a replacement. I think for three positions this offseason on the offensive line. So I think maybe if he can, as of right now, I'll give him a D plus. Maybe if he can show improvements and kind of, you know, be better for the Bengals than he was in Dallas, then maybe it'll be higher. But as of right now, unless he ends up being just depth, I don't really like him in the starting spot. So I'll kind of keep him at a D plus. But if he was signed just to be a backup, his grade would probably be really probably a B minus, just because I think he is great depth. He backs up the Cowboys offensive line, which is great. So we'll kind of see what they do with him. The offensive line will need to complete for this year. I think they're going to kind of move around some people and still figure it out. So we'll see what they do with him.
Yeah, I agree. I also have him D plus. If you look at the stats, he's just like John Miller, and Miller wasn't really good for us. And yeah, like you mentioned, when we signed him, I'm like, I'll be a backup guy. Not a bad signing. As you look at it, I'm like, well, crap. It looks like he's going to be starting for us now. Like you said, if he was a backup for a depth move, I would have him like a C or C plus. But if he the way it looks like if he's going to be starting for us, I have a D plus for him. So, what is your grade on Michael Jordan?
I'll keep Michael Jordan as a B minus. His play probably isn't a B minus. I think he's been struggling just a little bit. He shows that he has some potential, which is why I have him as a B minus. I think he can potentially be just a solid starter until they find a good guard. But since he has potential, I like to keep him at a B minus, and I'd like to see him get a lot of playing time this year to see what he can do. And in a couple years, let's say they figure out the offensive line. I think he'd be another guy that's going to be really good depth. Or he could keep working hard. Maybe he can prove that he can start. So I think I'll keep him at a B minus just because of his potential. But we'll see what he can do. I hope he gets a lot of snaps this year.
I have Jordan as a C. When he played last year, he wasn't. I mean, there was times he was okay, but other times he was not good at all. Like you said, he has potential, but if he played more and if he started showing his potential, I would have his grade a little bit higher. And if he was more consistent, I would have him as higher. But yeah, I have him a C for right now. And then you can make a case this is arguably our best offensive lineman right now. Trey Hopkins, center. I have him as a B. I mean, I think he's better than Jonah Williams because to me you can't really because Williams never played an actual snap for us to me. But Hopkins is really good. He's consistent. We recently signed him to a deal. And I mean, he's good. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to have good snaps and stuff like that, and he's consistent. So, what would you grade Hopkins?
I'll also give him a B. He's not going to be a superstar. He's not a game changer, but he's also doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He's reliable, consistent. I think you need a guy like that to kind of anchor your offensive line. So I think for the next couple of years he can be a decent piece of center. He's gonna be reliable. That's what you need, kind of going through a rebuild. They didn't add a whole lot of new faces on the offensive line, so I like Trey Hopkins a lot. I think he's gonna provide consistent consistent play for as long as he's here.
So the last offensive lineman is Jonah Williams, a first-round pick from last season. Didn't play any last year to an injury, but coming out, Williams was the best offensive lineman in the draft class. And even though he's not played an NFL snap, I would give Williams a B minus if he would have played. I know he was the best offensive lineman in his draft class, like I mentioned, and I know if he would have played last year, his grade would have been higher. But because you don't know what you're getting from him, and he's never played a snap, I don't see how his grade could go up. I have Williams as a B minus.
I'll give him a B plus. You know, he hasn't played, but he's kind of shown during training camp that he's healthy and he's playing. I mean, it's way early, but he's looking pretty solid, and we have a lot of faith in him. We have a lot of hope for him. So I think that him playing a lot this year is going to be key, staying healthy. So as long as he stays healthy and just plays decent, I think that'll be a good year for him. And hopefully in the future he remains healthy and kind of just plays up to his potential because he has a lot of potential.
Oh yeah, definitely the most potential of any offensive lineman we have, and will definitely be the key piece to our offensive line in the future. So now we'll shift to the defensive line. So, what would you grade rookie Khalid Kareem?
Khalid Kareem kind of grown on me at first. I didn't like the pick. I think there's better defensive ends on the board, but he's a leader. He's a reliable defensive end. He's proved that at Notre Dame, and so I think I'll give him a C plus. He's good depth, and since he was a leader, I think that helps a lot. He's going to be a good locker room guy, and he's a captain at Notre Dame, which is big. And maybe I don't think he's going to play a whole lot right away, but I think just as a locker room guy, as depth, I like him. I think he's a good addition to the team at the end of the day. And we'll kind of see if he can work his way into getting some snaps this year.
I have him as a C. He has 13 sacks at Notre Dame, and throughout the draft, I mean, we had an amazing draft, one of the best we had in a long time. But to me, that was probably my least favorite pick. I didn't mind it, but I still think there was better defensive linemen available. He's probably not going to play probably a whole ton of snaps because our defensive line is one of the best in the league. So I would give Kareem a C. What are your thoughts on Andrew Brown?
Andrew Brown, I'll give him a. I don't think I'll give a C minus. He hasn't really found his place. He's been kind of bouncing around a little bit at the end of these tackle, which I mean versatility's good, but I think he needs to find a place on the D line. We haven't really seen much from him at all. We'll see what he can do in training camp. His name's been brought up. He's been talked about a lot in terms of where he's going to play this year. So I think in terms of depth, he's a solid guy. And we'll just kind of see what he ends up, where he ends up playing this year.
I have a C for Brown. Didn't play a whole ton of snaps in the regular season, but in the preseason, he was really really good for us. And if he gets a chance, more meaningful snaps, I think he could be a decent piece to our defensive line. But I don't think he'll get a whole ton of snaps like I mentioned because our defensive line has so much depth and definitely one of the best in the league, like I said. But I would give Brown a C. And like we said earlier, he's probably going to be out for the year. But what would you grade Renell Wren?
Renell Wren, I liked him a lot. I liked his potential. I think I'd go with probably about a C plus for him. And just I wish he wouldn't have got hurt, but we'll kind of see what he can do next year. See if he can stay healthy, and maybe then he can show his potential. He showed that a little bit last year in like some preseason games and stuff like that. So I think health is all we can really hope for now, Wren going forward. Hoping that he stays healthy when he comes back.
Yeah, I have a C for Wren. when we drafted him, fans and coaches raved about he could be, because I believe he was drafted in the fourth round. People talked about that could have been a great steal, but he's not played a whole ton of snaps like I mentioned with Brown, and he was injured some last year as well. And this injury, obviously, getting injured is never good, but with Glasgow gone and Tupou opting out, this would have been Ronell Wren would have had more snaps, but unfortunately with his injury, he could possibly be out for the year. So I mean that stinks. We're not going to be more than likely not going to be able to see him play any this year. I have a C on Wren. So what are your thoughts on Carl Lawson?
Lawson will give a B minus. I think I tweeted earlier today that I think it's time they raise expectations on Carl Lawson. I think that's what I really meant by that. He injuries have held him back, but I think he's just been waiting too long for him to reach his potential. I think it's time for him to step up. And even so, the injuries haven't they've held back his career still. I think it could be time to part ways with Lawson if he doesn't stay healthy. But you're hoping he does because when he's healthy, he's a pretty good player, and we've seen him to be more consistent and healthy. I think that's all you can ask for him this year.
Yeah, I have a B on Lawson. Like you mentioned, staying healthy is just the main part. People talk about over the last several years, Green being injury prone, and Eifert was on the team. He was injury prone. And Lawson wouldn't get as injured. He didn't miss as many games as them, but he had to been in the conversation for to be injury prone. But when he played, he was really good. And you look at his potential. If he can stay healthy, I think he could be great. I mean, just look at that when we played the Packers a couple of years ago. I believe it was his rookie season. I had a couple of sacks, was all over the field. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I mean, you don't know. I mean, if he has a performance like that, just twice a year, a couple of times a year, I mean, that's already like 9 sacks. That's not including any other games. But I mean, I think Lawson's potential is through the roof. But the main thing is just staying healthy. Next up, Sam Hubbard. I have a B on Hubbard. Well, actually, I'll move it up to a B plus. I was a big fan of Hubbard coming out of the draft. When the Bengals selected him, he was the one person I wanted them to get. They ended up drafting him. Obviously, most fans were glad they did because he is from Ohio State. He started 15 games in his career for us. He has 14 and a half sacks. And once Dunlap will retire or stuff like that, I think obviously I don't think Dunlap will retire soon, but I think Hubbard could be the main person on the defensive end. I'm a big Hubbard fan. I have him as a B plus.
Yeah, I'll also give Hubbard a B plus. He's shown that he's growing as a player. He's one of the best, he's probably the best defensive end in his whole draft class. I think just continued improvement, and he hasn't really had too many injury issues, but I think staying healthy is another big thing for him. You don't want a big setback, so I think this could be a really big year for Sam Hubbard.
Absolutely. I think he could be close to a double-digit sack year for Hubbard. So, Mike Williams, Mike Daniels, the Bengals signed him, shocked everybody. I mean, I speak for most Bengal fans. I think we were kind of expecting somebody like Petco or a veteran guy who's just okay. I did not expect us to sign Mike Daniels, who spent time with the Lions last season, spent time with the Packers. I'll grade Daniels a B. When he was with the Packers, he was one of the better defensive tackles in the NFL. Slowed down a bit with the Lions, but I was just really excited for him to come to Cincy. I'm still surprised that we signed him because any other year that would be our top free agent signing, but with this year, the top people we've signed, that was a really great signing. I would give it a B, and I think he's going to be really good for us this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'll also go B for Mike Daniels. I think he's going to get some playing opportunities depth signing. So I really like the signing. I think he's a solid player. Uh, just kind of hoping that he just remains solid. He's been solid his whole career. Hasn't hit a Pro Bowl, and he's a veteran now. So I think it's a good signing when you see what he can do, and I like him as a piece on the defensive line.
So the Bengals signed DJ Reader in the offseason. Probably, well, at a money standpoint, the biggest signing in history, I mean, franchise history in the offseason, aside from re-signing players. What would you grade DJ Reader?
I'll give DJ Reader an A-. I really like the signing. He's a great nose tackle. He's really going to help the Bengals kind of stop the run this year. With these young linebacker core, help them out a little bit. He's been like a monster in training camp so far. I know the Bengals offensive line isn't very good, but just showing already that showing how dominant he is. I really like this signing. I think it's a great, one of the best signings that the Bengals really made in free agency. I think he will definitely live up to the hype around him. So I think that's a really big sign for the Bengals defense. He's a great player.
Yeah, I also have Reader as a A-. I don't think anybody expected the Bengals to sign him because I mean he was a top tier free agent on lots of free agency lists. He was a top 10 free agent on all of the lists, and the Bengals signed him. Everybody's surprised and everything like that. I mean he's great at stopping the run, spent time. He's spent his whole career so far up until signing with Cincy with the Texans with Watt on the defensive line, and you pair him with Atkins. That's arguably the best defensive tackle duo in the NFL. So speaking of Atkins, what would you grade Geno?
I'll give Geno an A. He's shown his whole career that he's a dominant defensive tackle. I think he could be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, and he really hasn't lost a step his whole career. I think he's still going to be the same Geno Atkins we always get. Uh, I think he's going to be a big piece of the defensive line this year as long as he's healthy and on the field. Him and Reader playing together are going to be one of the best defensive line tandems in the whole NFL. So I think he always has been, and I think you'll see that again. That he's one of the biggest parts of the Bengals defense.
Yeah, I have Atkins as an A. I mean, he's definitely, once he retires, should be in the Hall of Fame, but realistically, I mean, there's a lot of people who should be in the Hall of Fame for us and more likely won't be. But, I mean, ever since he's been drafted, he's been one of the best tackles in the league. Year after year, consistent, great. With him, with Reader, I think that's just going to be dangerous, along with Dunlap. That's just an incredible defensive line. Atkins, he's always consistent. He's the best best player on our defense. Like I said, I give him an A. And speaking of Dunlap, the final player we are going to grade, what would you grade Carlos Dunlap?
I'll give Carlos Dunlap a B+. Could be an A-. Really either or. He's just a really consistent, reliable player on the defensive end. And when, like I said, with Geno Atkins, I think Dunlap's just going to prove once again that he's a big piece on the Bengals defensive line. And, with some younger guys on the defensive end position, I think Dunlap, veteran presence, great locker room guy. So, I'll go A-, B+, either or. I think he's just a great player to have on the Bengals, and I think this play is going to be the same Carlos Dunlap we've always seen.
I have Dunlap as a B+. Like I said, with Atkins, Dunlap is really consistent. Year after year, he's shown he's one of the better defensive ends in the league. And I mean, he's been with us for a while now, and he's one of the leaders of this team, the leader of the defense. Great locker room guy, great guy. off the field. And I mean, if you're an NFL team, you want a guy like Dunlap any day of the week. Good guy off the field, great player on the field, and year after year has shown how consistent he is. So in this episode, we talked about some recent camp news. We graded each player on the offensive line and graded each player on the defensive line. So that really about does it. Blake, can you tell some of the listeners where they can follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Weasel43 underscore on Twitter, at Weasel43 on Instagram.
Make sure to follow Blake on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me, Whodey Nation _news on Instagram, Whodey Nation News without the underscore on Twitter. Make sure to go check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would greatly appreciate it. The Whodey Nation podcast. We appreciate your all support. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. And until next time, Whodey.